One of the things that helped me survive shortly after my husband passed away was diversion. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that. Um, After my husband passed away, when anyone passes away, you go into immediately the funeral planning, making all the arrangements. And then when that's over, you have to start handling the business of someone has passed away, someone has died. And it's almost like a full-time job, the paperwork, the phone calls, everything you have to do. But eventually that is accomplished and everything starts to slow down. And for me, when all that ended, I didn't know what to do. The last year of my life had really been about taking care of my husband. It was initially about taking care of him at home, getting him to appointments, and then once he was hospitalized, it was about driving back and forth to the hospital while still trying to keep a household running. So I was stretched pretty thin and didn't have really any time to think, which maybe was a good thing. But when all of the business of death started to slow down, I didn't know what to do. So one Saturday morning, a friend of mine took me to a succulent workshop. Now, I'd worked with plants before. I used to do the pots on our front porch and I enjoyed it. It was fun. Certainly not anything I'd had time to do recently because of all the reasons I just mentioned. So I was interested, I was open to it, and quite frankly, it was just something to do on a Saturday morning. So we went, and I really liked it. It was creative, it was fun. I really enjoyed it, so much so that the next week, when the kids were at school, I went and bought succulents and bought some containers. And I started researching where to get the best deals, who had the best selection, and started looking at inspirational pictures on Pinterest, online. And it really became a fun project for me. It was a distraction. It was a time that I could be focused on anything other than what I had been focusing on, which was sadness, loneliness, and fear. When I was outside creating an arrangement, all I was thinking about was the project in front of me. And it allowed me to be creative, it allowed me to get my hands dirty, and it allowed my brain to kind of shift. And it really saved me, I think. It really became a survival mode. It gave me a time during the day when I didn't have to think about what had happened or what was going on. I was mainly focused on, do I like what this looks like? Did I get the color composition right? And if you know anything about succulents, they're very forgiving. So I could put something together, not like what it looked like, take it apart and put it back together. Something that I had not been able to do in my real life. I didn't like the way things would come about in my real life, but I couldn't take it apart and put it back together. I didn't have that luxury. Well, doing these arrangements, I did. I could totally control the outcome, which is something I hadn't had control in a really long time. And it gave me a huge sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. And those two feelings, satisfaction and accomplishment, I hadn't felt that in a long time. As I mentioned, really the only feelings that had gone through me were fear, pain, sadness. And to feel these good feelings, it felt great. So if there's something that is a diversion for you that helps you forget what's going on, I say go for it, do it. It's not by any way, shape, or form a denial. It's not denial. It's survival. It's a way for your brain to turn off the stuff that's been going on and get lost in something else. And those feelings of pain, fear, despair, they'll be there. Trust me, they'll be there when you're done with your project. But to give yourself a break, to give yourself a mental break from those feelings is really, I think personally, a form of survival. At least it was for me. It was one of the first ways I survived those first few months.